Good evening and welcome to the 6 p.m. report. I'm your host, Olivia Baillie. Tonight we have a special bulletin for you about how advertising affects our perceptions on food and nutrition. To effectively sell products, advertisers must know how different demographics respond to different types of advertisements. This methodology is also applicable to implement social change, as a social change agent would need to sell their idea in order for people to jump on board with their initiative. Today, we have a panel of experts with us to explain their findings on a recent study they have conducted relating to food advertisements and consumers' responses to these. First, we have Lauren, who will be addressing what kind of advertisements are the most effective and for what groups. Next, we have Millie, who analysed whether BMI affects someone's emotional response to certain ads. Felicia, who looked into whether the viewer's age influenced the effectiveness of advertisements. Gabi, analysing whether people's knowledge of nutrition had any influence on an ad's effectiveness. And finally, Hieu, who will be telling us the implications of all of this and the limitations they encountered. To start, these experts had to collect mass amounts of information so that they could gain detailed insights into the minds of consumers. They selected 5 different advertisements, 2 of which were confronting, 2 of which were informational, and 1 which was set as the control. Upon receiving the survey, the respondent would only be given 1 out of the 5 advertisements. This was randomized. They were then asked questions about their current food preferences, how tasty they perceive a food to be, whether they pay attention to nutritional information, and finally some questions about their demographics. These questions allowed for sufficient data to be collected in order to evaluate how different types of people are affected by different types of advertisements. Upon receiving this data, they had to break down the issue into 4 different research questions and objectives in order to provide the social policy maker with useful information. They used the following tests to generate meaningful results. To answer the first research question of what kind of advertisement is most effective and for what groups, Lauren used independent t-tests and crosstabs. To answer the second research question, is someone's personal situation, their BMI, reflective on how they view ads? Does their BMI affect their emotional response to a certain advertisement? Millie used one-way ANOVA. Addressing the third research question of will the viewer's age influence the effectiveness of advertisements, Felicia used one-way ANOVA and linear regression analysis. And finally, for the fourth research question, are people's evaluations of an ad affected by their previous knowledge of nutrition? Gabi used linear regression analysis. Through the use and interpretation of these tests, our panel hopes to be able to provide the social policy maker with information about how to help others eat what they should, so that an effective and impactful change can be made to the ever-increasing obesity epidemic. Lauren, can you tell us what kind of advertisement is effective and for what groups?
To answer this, 2 research objectives were developed. The first was to determine if ad evaluations differ between males and females. The first analysis question was, do males and females differ in their evaluation of advertisement effectiveness? To test this, an independent t-test was undertaken to determine if there was significant difference between the male and female evaluation of advertisement effectiveness for ads 1 to 5. The hypothesis was tested using select cases for each advertisement. For all advertisements, p-value was smaller than 0.05, and thus we conclude that there was no significant difference between male and female evaluation of effectiveness for all ads. In addition, it was evident that on average, only ad 3 was deemed effective by respondents. Therefore, the social policy maker can market the same kind of advertisement to both genders, as male and female ad evaluation were not significantly different. As ad 3 was the only ad deemed effective, managers could observe the distinguishable characteristics of ad 3 and leverage those to ensure effectiveness when marketing to both genders. To further analyse research objective 1, I tested the presence of a relationship using the question, is there a relationship between gender and evaluation of advertisement effectiveness? For this, crosstab's chi-square method was used. However, in the first cross-tabulation test, Run on effectiveness, the result showed an expected count less than 5 in several different cells. To address this, the 7 evaluation categories of effectiveness were recoded into 2 variable categories. The first was disagree or neutral for responses 1 to 4, and the second was agree, compiling responses 5 to 7. A relationship was found between gender and ad evaluation for AD3. Crosstab reveals that more females agree that AD3 is effective than males. For all other ads, there was no relationship. So the policymaker can conclude that females will be more receptive to ads that leverage the characteristics of AD3. Which brings us to the second research objective, to identify the ad evaluations that contribute to an effective ad for males and females. The previous 2 tests conclude that the policymaker would benefit from leveraging the ad characteristics of AD3. Thus, a linear regression with double select cases involving gender and the ad number must be run on AD3 to determine the characteristics that contribute to AD3's effectiveness. The linear regression revealed that for men, the evaluation ad message is clear was the most significant in determining effectiveness, accounting for 16.6% of the variation. For women, the evaluation ad message is clear and ad makes me think were most significant in determining effectiveness, explaining 19.1% of the variation. The social policymaker can conclude that both females and males will be more receptive to ads that leverage a clear message. Ad 3 is a clear message in the sense that it visibly breaks down an optimal meal composition using a dinner plate in a visually appealing, practical and informative manner. The social policymaker must note that when marketing the ad to females, the ad effectiveness increases in that it makes them think by leveraging the informational foundation used in ad 3.
Millie, would you be able to tell us, is someone's personal situation, their BMI, reflective on how they view ads? Does their BMI affect their emotional response to a certain advertisement?
My name is Millie and I will be delivering research question 2, which I did an analysis on, and so research question 2 was, is someone's personal situation, BMI, reflective on how they view the ads? Does their BMI affect their emotional response to a certain advertisement? The BMIs were divided into 4 different sections, and someone's body mass index is their height divided by their weight, conducted on both men and women. If the respondent had a BMI below 18.5, they were considered underweight. If they had a BMI between 18.5 and 24.9, they were considered normal. 25 to 29.9 overweight, and greater than 30, they were obese. Ad 1 and 2 depict images that are confronting and illustrate junk food next to an obese person, whilst ad 3 and 4 portray informational stuff about nutrition to the respondents that were looking at the ads. And ad 5 was just a separate category that was completely different and had nothing to do with information or something that was confronting. And the reason I chose a one-way ANOVA for this was because there were more than 3 different groups of respondents in terms of weight categories, and these were underweight, normal, overweight and obese. And it was suitable to use a one-way ANOVA test to see if there was any difference between the groups in the way that they emotionally respond to the ads. The purpose for this was to see if someone's reaction to an ad was dependent on their specific BMI or their certain weight category. And the conclusions that were drawn from these 4 one-way ANOVAs that were performed, the dependent variable was the emotional response to the ad, ranging from strongly disagree to strongly agree if they thought the ad were effective, informal, positive and cheery in that order. And the dependent variable was someone's BMI/weight category. The null hypothesis included that the groups did not differ, and the alternate hypothesis that the groups did differ. Each 4 tests came back with p-values greater than 0.05, so thus we failed to reject the null hypothesis. Therefore, we concluded that an individual's emotional response to a certain advertisement, being ads 1, 2, 3 and 4, were not dependent on their personal situation. We therefore concluded that there was no difference between the 4 groups and the way they responded to each 4 ads, and that their BMI was not dependent, it wasn't dependent on how they viewed their ads. So we can see this as limited because they didn't get to view all the ads.
Felicia, will the viewer's age influence the effectiveness of advertisements?
So there are two tests which I use, which is one-way ANOVA and linear regression. With one-way ANOVA, we would like to determine people's perception on the ad evaluations given to value an advertisement across different age groups. It was observed that some of the advertisements' evaluation characteristics show significant results of p-value equal to 0.000, which can be seen from the ANOVA multiple comparison table. Null hypothesis, where it stated that ad evaluation are not rated differently across age group, is hence rejected. In this case, Tukey's post-hoc test indicate the effectiveness of an advertisement to be the most significant characteristics, as there are statistically significant differences for the level of ad's effectiveness across all the 4 age groups. This is then followed by ad's informativeness, message clarity, and how it affects individuals, as those factors also exhibit significant differences across the younger and middle generation and the younger and older generation. This is different to extent of share, where findings only show significance between the younger and older generation. Moreover, we also found that adds positively to play an important role to identification of perception level. However, the Tukey's post-hoc test is unable to identify the differences between the age groups. Given the ad's effectiveness as the most significant result between all the age groups, advertisers should consider this as first priority, which is then followed by the other ads evaluation characteristics. Thus, it can be concluded that age does lead to a significantly more positive or negative attitude in evaluating advertisements. Second method, which I'm going to use, is linear regression, where we aim to see whether there is a relationship between people's age and their perception on a particular advertisement, given the ad evaluations on the data. We reject null hypothesis in this case for advertisement 1, as there is a relationship found between people's age and ad evaluation characteristics. It was found that ads message clarity contributes significantly to the model and hence provide necessary information to predict the target audience for ad 1 based on age. According to the model summary, 4.4% of the variation of age is explained by the ads message clarity itself. However, despite this being an important factor, it actually affects the prediction of age in a negative way. There are no significance found on the relationship between ad evaluation and age for ad 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hence, in this case, we accept the null hypothesis. So it can be concluded that advertisers should take into account the extent of message clarity on advertisement 1's context, as it acts as a predictive factor for age. From a job perspective, it is crucial to choose an appropriate segmentation and target audience for each campaign, as people react differently when the evaluation is known. However, it is as well suggested that message clarity should not be considered as a sole predictor, as proven by variation of less than 10%.
For our last question, Gabi, are people's evaluation of an advertisement affected by their previous knowledge of nutrition?
Firstly, in order to grasp the viewer's attention, advertisements need to stimulate a level of interest for the consumer. However, interest is subjective to the individual's preferences and past experience. As a result, we pose that the interaction between prior knowledge and the advertisement content may lend to a more favourable response from the viewer. So what we have found is that through a series of linear regressions, that having knowledge about nutrition was significant in determining 2 key evaluations. This method of analysis was chosen as a form of predictive inquiry. It enables us to survey whether the independent variable of nutritional knowledge predicted the positive result of dependent variables of ad evaluations, including ad effectiveness, clarity, informational value, positivity, cheerfulness, and thought provocation. The results of the various regression tests found significance for the evaluations of specifically the ad makes me think with a significance of 0.02, and secondly, that the ad's message is clear with a significance of 0.034. However, despite this significance, the prediction accuracy was not strong. Nutritional knowledge only accurately predicted 1.3% of the respondents' positive responses to the evaluation that ads make me think, and only 0.06% to the evaluation of the ads message is clear. Cross-tabulation did, however, show an associative relationship between the independent and dependent variables. Those with a higher nutritional knowledge, i.e. those who are scaled between 51 and 100, were more inclined to agree with each of the responses evaluations rather than those with a lower understanding of nutrition who scaled between 0 and 50. For example, only 64% of those with a lower understanding of nutrition somewhat to strongly agreed with the evaluation that ads were effective, as opposed to those with a greater nutritional knowledge, of which 74% were in agreement with the ads evaluation. This pattern was particularly true for all evaluations, excluding the evaluation that this ad makes me cheery. From the findings, it can be concluded that nutritional knowledge does have some impact on one's evaluation of an ad. Predictive analysis did find that nutritional knowledge did predict some positive evaluation of an ad, namely those evaluations of ads' clarity and thought provocation. Further investigation also confirmed that there was an association between prior knowledge and ad effectiveness. However, the strength of these associations in favour of a high nutritional knowledge was not strong enough to be the sole predictor of respondents' evaluations. It is recommended that since advertisers cannot affect one's previous knowledge of the topic, that ads should not be created with a sole focus on reaching consumers with an existing topical understanding, but rather just be aware that those with such knowledge may be more inclined to engage with the ad.
I want to talk about the communication for research question number 1 and research question number 2. So, first of all, with the research question number 1, we can conclude that the ad makers or the advertiser could make it the same as to both gender, male and female. And also for research question number 2, we can conclude that they could make it the same as to every person with different BMI. Advertiser could focus on both gender, male and female, with the focus on a clear message in the ad, such as ad number 3 in our research. Also, we found that for female, it's also better if advertiser focus on thought-provoking aspect of the ad, because it has shown there is a significant effectiveness. For research question number 3, since ad effectiveness is the most significant research from other evaluation based on the age group, advertisers should focus ad effectiveness at the first priority. And for research question number 4, it's recommended by us that advertisers should not rely based solely on nutritional knowledge as a relator for the ad evaluation of effectiveness by the respondent, because based on research question number 4, the respondent have the ability to assume their own nutritional knowledge level. So it could be because of their bias on their confidence about their own knowledge that could affect the respondent response. And also we have found limitation for other research question number 3 and number 2, such as there is no diversity in our age group of the respondent. 90% of them is from the age of 11 to 30. And also the limitation of our research methods is not everybody could see all the ads. And also for research question number 2, because not every one of the respondents can see all the ads, so they cannot come up with the most fair way to evaluate all the ads on the same level.
Thanks for watching the report tonight. I hope you've learned something more about food, nutrition and advertising. Hope to see you next time.